I tested every single free AI video generator on the market to see if you can actually create high quality video without spending $1. Most of these tools are just glorified free trials that hit you with a paywall the second you try to download. But after filtering through the garbage, I narrowed it down to a couple of generators that are completely free and actually usable. So today, I'm ranking them from worst to best and showing you the one I would actually use. The first generator in today's lineup has one of the most powerful features I've seen across all AI video generation, a feature that even most paid tools don't have. Not only that, but besides generating video, it also allows you to generate images. I'm talking about Veer. It's probably a generator you haven't heard of before, but is genuinely one of the leading and best free generators out there to use. And here's the best part, it doesn't even require you to log in. So I'm gonna leave a link to every generator we're going to be using in the description below. When you first come to Veer, you want to go up to the top right here and select text to image to create your initial image that we're going to be starting from. And here you can already see that this supports a wide range of different styles. So let's begin with our first prompt. I'm going to write a realistic image of a sword being stuck in a huge boulder. But before I generate, there's one thing that's really important to remember. You want to go ahead and select the quality model. As you can see here, it has the premium tag on both the Pro and the Max models, meaning you do have to use the quality one if you want to stay free. For the aspect ratio, you're free to select whatever aspect ratio you want, whether it's a horizontal or a vertical video. We're going to go with 16:9 here. Then I'm going to click generate, and here the image comes out looking surprisingly good, especially for a free generator. I don't see any immediate things that I'm unhappy with. Now, you can of course still tell that this is an AI generated image. It has this feeling of a 3D render trying to look realistic, but there are currently very few options to go around that, one of which I'll show you in the final generator. For now though, this is one of the best results you could get from a free generator. Once you have your image ready, you want to go ahead and download it by clicking this button right here, which is completely free, and you're not prompted to sign up. Then you want to go to image to video. You want to click on generate videos and upload your image. For me, it's going to be the sword one. Once uploaded, you have two different prompt windows. You have the one for the basic image prompt, and that is for the actions you want to happen in the image. So I'm going to write, the sword is being pulled out from the stone and lifted in the air. Here's where things get interesting. Next up, you want to fill in the camera prompting section. That is the exact feature I was talking about at the beginning. You have complete control over the camera, and having both of those prompts separated means that the AI can actually focus on what camera movements to include and render them in a much better way. This is huge because most free generators force you to mix actions and camera movements into one prompt, which confuses the AI. By splitting them, you're essentially giving the AI clearer instructions, and clearer instructions mean better results. So I'm going to go with a dolly shot going around the stone. Next up, you want to keep all of your settings as they are, because those are the ones you have access to if you're using the free version. Then hit generate, and here is the final result. It does not look perfect like the stuff you see people post on Twitter with the paid tools, but I have a generator coming up later in the video that will give us much better results than this one. If we speak solely about this generation though, it is really basic and it works perfectly for animating still shots and creating images of products or anything where you have the object being more still than others. And one thing that is truly exceptional is the camera movement, especially if you include the camera prompts. It honestly uplifts the entire video and even smooths out the inconsistencies you get in the actions. Now finally, before we jump over to the next AI, which is made by a much bigger brand and gives you much more consistent and much better results, let's test Veer out with a person. So I have this image of a woman standing in a train that I generated using Veer earlier. I'm going to upload this one, and I'm going to write, make the woman look around cautiously. For the camera, I'm going to write, slow zoom towards her face. Then I'm going to click generate, and here is the result. Again, it's not as perfect as some of the paid options out there, and you can see that there is some morphing happening in her face, but for a quick free generation, it's a really good result. Now I want to switch over to a generator that elevates the realism and the possibility of both image and video generation entirely. This time it's a big player on the overall AI scene, and the generator I'm talking about is Grok. Now the reason we're using Grok is because it has some solid image and video generator capabilities without prompting you to pay for a trial. Will you be limited compared to the paid version? Yes, of course, but nevertheless, I'm going to run you through how to use it so that you can get free results that look as good as possible. The first thing you want to do is sign up to Grok using Google, or another way of logging in. Don't worry, you don't have to pay anything. Then you want to switch over to Imagine on the left side, right here, where you'll be met with this library of things that other people have generated. If you click on them, you can take them and change them however you want, and even edit them to be either fun, normal, or spicy. You can also download them and use them however you want, or just switch over by clicking right here to the image that the person used to generate the video from. But what we're here for is generating our own custom results, and you can do this in the bottom right here. Here you can explain whatever you want to imagine. I wanted to use this prompt right here to create a pretty cool looking image that we can later on animate into something even better. And here is the result. What I like the most about Grok is this. I'm scrolling down and Grok keeps generating other variations of my image without me having to prompt it for a set number of generations or just giving me one image at a time. It's useful, and it's something I think more generators should start incorporating into their own workflows. Here, let's just pick out the image that I like the most. I'm gonna go with this one right here. And here's where things start to get interesting, because you can first change the image however you see fit. For example, by clicking right here, I can just write "make them wear sweatsuits," which will now generate us more variations with that change in mind. And here, as you can see, it incorporates it. You can still clearly see that it's AI. It has the same kind of feel to it as the previous generator that we tested out. It looks like a drawing or a 3D render trying to be realistic, but still having that smoothness that gives it away. Nevertheless, we're going to test it out. So now let's actually turn it into a video. The first way you can do this is by clicking on one of the presets. So either spicy, fun, or normal. The spicy one gives you a little bit more of an adult variation of the generation. Fun is going to create something more dynamic and interesting to look at, while normal will just animate some casual movements. But you can, of course, prompt it to do things that you want yourself. By writing in this field right here, I'm going to go ahead and write "make the foxes get up from the sofa and walk away." And here we can see how exactly that happens. It generates a decently long video to the point where the whole animation actually manages to come through without stopping mid-shot. It's decent to see that a free generator can do that, but there are still mistakes here and there. You'll not be able to generate something that looks too realistic, and you'll also not be able to do very complex animations because the video will start morphing. With something that is really simple and still, it's passable. Now there is one more way of generating video that will give you less of a consistent result, because you don't have an image to start with, but it offers the most customization, and that is just generating a video without using an image to begin with. You'll want to go back to the initial prompting window, and here you want to select video. Then you want to just input your prompt. I'm going to go with this one right here. This one is a VHS vintage style video to showcase how you can actually play to the limitations of the free AI generators and generate something that doesn't have to look super realistic, therefore giving you a better result overall. Here's what we get back. They're alright, and I think the cars in the generations came out looking acceptable. The overall animation is also somewhat realistic, only the movement looks questionable. But you can also go ahead and do something that doesn't incorporate any realism whatsoever. So I'm going to go with this prompt right here, which is going to give us a result in the style of Studio Ghibli. You're going to see what that looks like as well. And here is the result. There is of course some morphing happening here and there, and some lines do kind of flow into each other, making it lose the sharpness. The overall quality here, you can see, is fairly grainy, but for some quick animations, this could work in a pinch. Now let's jump over to a generator that I would personally use myself if I were after a free option. The generator that has truly figured it out in terms of free AI image and video is the Meta AI generator. Once you're inside the Meta AI chatbot, you want to go ahead and click over to create on the left right here, and here is your main working window. In the bottom, you have a couple of settings that I quickly want to run you through. The first one is selecting between image and video. Keep in mind that whenever you're creating a video from scratch, you're only going to be animating something, meaning it's not going to be a full video, so you'll need an image for that. Then you have the aspect ratio. I'm going to go with 9:16 for my generation. And finally, you have the aesthetics. This is something I'm missing in a lot of free generators, and that is the ability to actually fine-tune your images to the exact way you'd like them. The first setting is variety. It basically gives the AI a little bit of creative control to create something based on your instructions, but take a little bit of its own spin on it. Then you have weirdness, which will add elements that are just strange and unexpected. And finally, you have stylization, and this setting is the one that will solve the problem we had with the two previous generators and actually remove the 3D or drawn effect from any of our images. The only thing I'm going to turn up is the variety. I'm going to turn it up to 50, and the rest will stay at 0. Here, we're going to insert my prompt, and here is what we get. I think this image turned out decent, and here, by clicking on it, you can see that it actually is pretty good quality, and it doesn't have any of that unrealistic drawn feel to it. But if you do want to have that effect, you just want a little bit more control over it. On the right, whenever you click, you have the option to restyle it in whatever style that you want. You can go with 3D or you can go with cinema. So here are both of the results for those. Below that, you can also go ahead and add any edits to the images if you prefer, and actually animate an image with any type of lip sync, which we'll test out in just a bit. For this generation though, let's just click on the most important button here, and that is the animate button, which will turn this into a video. By clicking on it, it'll start generating something that it interprets will fit this image the best. But before we check out that result, let us actually insert our own instructions. For me, I'm going to go with a boat flowing away from the camera. I'm going to click animate, and here are both of the results. So now we know how it works with just items and no people in the picture whatsoever. Let's test it with a person. I'm going to create a prompt for a natural looking woman in her 20s, standing and looking directly towards the camera. I'll send the prompt, and here are a couple of results that we get back. They look interesting and are leaning a little bit more towards that fake side though. So even though I asked for a natural looking woman, it did kind of go more towards that unrealistic feel. Now there's something really important that I need to tell you. While testing all of those 3 generators, I ran into the same problems again and again. With most of those free generators, I was waiting a lot. And that is just how it works, because on the free tier, you're all the way at the back of the queue, waiting for all the paid users to get priority. That 5-second clip that you want to generate can sometimes take up to 5 or even 10 minutes of waiting just to see the result. The second problem is prompt adherence. You can write exactly what you want, hit generate, and whatever comes back just doesn't look exactly as you've prompted, so you'll have to reprompt. And at the end, you'll get an image that looks at least pretty close, but that will also take you a ton of time going back and forth and will completely stress you out. The final thing is the quality itself. Same as with the waiting time, you're not the priority, and so you're getting the older models compared to what paying users are getting. The smoothness, the 3D rendered look, the morphing on faces, all of that will be something you meet really often. Even with the meta AI that gives us pretty decent results to begin with, you'll still start seeing those issues come back. Now, why is this the case? Why can't free generators just be as good as the paid ones? Well, it all comes down to something really simple. Generating AI costs money, and a lot of it, especially at the scale that AI is evolving today. Every time you hit generate, there is actual computing power being used, there is energy being consumed, there is server cost on the company's end, and if they're not charging you for it, they have to cut corners somewhere else. That means lower quality, slower processing times, and less reliable outputs. This isn't companies being greedy, it's just the reality of how this technology works. So free AI generators that are actually very good, like genuinely competitive with the paid ones, they just don't really exist. And to be honest, they probably never will. That doesn't mean you have to spend a fortune to get better results. A paid subscription doesn't have to break the bank, and the difference in quality is genuinely night and day. If you want to see what I mean, I made a video breaking down the best paid AI video generators that I actually use to produce results just like this, and all of that for the price of a single meal. So click on this video right now if you want to see me go through the actual process of what is possible when you're not fighting against free tier limitations. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.